So hi, everybody. We're here with Brandielee Johnson. She was born and raised in New York City and has been an educator for over 13 years, teaching various grades and subjects. She graduated from New York University with a master's degree in theater education. From there, she taught English and theater in South Korea and South Africa. As a lover of different cultures and food, Brandielee has been to 43 countries and 7 continents, including Antarctica. She is an avid explorer who loves the outdoors, camping, hiking, and anything related to adventures. Brandielee wants to encourage people of all ages to get out there and explore all that the world has to offer. She believes to travel is to have an adventure. And now I welcome Brandielee.
Hello, everybody.
So Brandielee, please tell us a little bit more about your experience in Antarctica.
Oh, yes. Antarctica is one of the wonders of the world that I think everyone should have the opportunity to go and see. What made me want to go to Antarctica, it was my last continent, which would be the 7th continent. And I didn't want to wait until I became older to actually go. So last minute, I booked a trip to go to Antarctica, and the company that I went with was called Herdegruten. Herdegruten was a great company that I went with, and so I did my research on when is the best season to go, what to pack, but most of all was what I was paying for my trip. I didn't want to pay thousands. Well, I did pay thousands of dollars for it. I didn't want to pay $20,000, $30,000 for it. So I did my research and I found Herdegruten, and when I found them, they had it was supplement free for a person who was traveling by themselves. So
that's awesome.
Definitely a great kicker. And actually, I went in November, and I think I booked my trip the last weekend of September. So it was quite a short booking time, but I was definitely ready to go, ready to explore this place because not many people have the chance to go or want to go. When people think of Antarctica, they say, "Oh, isn't it cold?"
Yes,
It's cold, but it's not that cold, but cold because the season that you're going is their summertime. So you're not going to Antarctica during their winter time because actually you're not allowed to. So the weather wasn't that bad as long as you were bundled up with the proper gear that you needed. And I'll also get into what to pack for the weather and also for the boat. So it was just a really great time.
How long were you there for?
The whole trip was 12 days.
Okay.
12 days. And what that included was a night in Buenos Aires at a 5-star hotel that included breakfast as well. And then the next day was a private charter to the airport, and then a private chartered plane from Buenos Aires to Ushuaia. We received a mini tour, and then we got on the boat, which would be technically the second day out of the 12 days. And then it also takes a day to get through the Drake Passage, which was very rough on the body because the boat, I don't know if you ever see movies where you see boats rocking and people are walking with their hands on the wall. That is what the Drake Passage was. I had my lipstick on the counter, and I have a video of it where the lipstick was just rolling back and forth.
Oh my God.
So I would say if you get motion sickness, you definitely should bring Dramamine. That'll be really helpful. And then each day we went to a different island. Now, Antarctica is made up of different islands, and it's also made up of the peninsula. And so the different islands surround the peninsula. So each day we went to a different island. We were able to get off the boat and explore. Now, depending on how you get off the boat depends on the weather, because every day the weather is going to be something different. And there's only a certain amount of people allowed on land at a certain time. So the boats have to coordinate with each other and say, "Hey, I'll be here one day. I'll be at this island another day. This is how many people we have. This is how many people can get off the boat." And then the last day we actually visited the peninsula of Antarctica.
Wow, that's awesome. So how many people were on the boat with you? Do you know?
So with Herdiger, and I was actually, the name of the boat was called Midnasol. And that boat was considered to be a large boat, and it was a little less than 500 people.
Oh,
And
okay.
normally with the boats, there's different sizes depending on what you feel comfortable with. Some boats go from, you know, 50 people to 500 people, and 500 is the largest of the boats that can actually fit through the canals of Antarctica. And then you have boats which are small, medium, and large. So I was on one of the larger boats. It's considered a cruise boat, but it's also considered an expedition boat because you need one of the boats to be able to get through the ice. So it was a larger boat, but it was about less than 400 people. But it was great because I had my own room, which was nice, heated floors in the bathroom. I had an actual window, not just a porthole, but a window. I had a couch, a TV, coffee maker. So they replenished the coffee and tea in my room every day. I had a desk. I had 2 closets, which was amazing. And I shared the room with me.
That's awesome.
It was great.
And you didn't pay any extra for traveling by yourself.
I didn't. And I know people who shared a room and they were like in the bottom where there was no window. And I was just like, oh man. And they actually paid more than me, which was very interesting. So yeah, it was I was on a larger boat, but I was with people from different countries, which was really nice. And everybody was really respectful. And the staff were amazing. I got along with the staff pretty well too.
That's awesome. So now, on all of the islands, I'm sure you did some sort of excursions and stuff. What was your like favorite thing to do that you would highly recommend?
Oh my gosh, so there's 2 things. I went sea kayaking. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that was beautiful. Because when you're in the kayak, you're in the water. And I was able to see the penguins, the seals up close, and I was able to see the icebergs. Now, normally you think of iceberg, you think of Titanic where it's big on the top, small on the top, and then large on the bottom. That is no over exaggeration. I would look down in the water and you could just see the iceberg spread out, and it would just went down because in certain parts the water was really clear. So you could see right through. So you had to be careful where we were paddling, and we also saw one of the glaciers fall down into the water, and the ripple effect like hit our kayaks. Another one would be to camp on the iceberg, which is a great experience. So depending on what boat you go on, they charge you extra or it's included. And some boats do where you sleep in a tent, or some boats do it where you actually just sleep in a sleeping bag. So I recommend that. And the next thing I recommend is the polar bear swim. Polar bear swim is when you jump into the water of Antarctica. And I did that, which was great. And the water that I ran into was on top of a volcano. So the water was cold, but not as cold as it would have been in different areas. So those are just 3 different types of adventures I would definitely recommend you do while you have the chance to do it. And there's no polar bears in Antarctica. Just so people know, there's no polar bears. That's the Arctic. And
That's amazing.
and we did, there's also snowshoeing that we did, hiking. And if you're on one of the smaller boats, you'll probably be able to visit Port LaCroix. Okay. And actually go to their station and pick up some little souvenirs and postcards.
Awesome. Now, was there anything that you did that you felt you shouldn't have done and maybe should have done something else? Maybe you didn't enjoy it as much, or was everything just like amazing?
Everything was amazing.
Okay.
Everything was amazing because each day was different because the weather was different. There was actually one time where it was so much snow that we couldn't actually go on land. So what the expedition team was, they went out first and they scouted, and then they said, well, we can't get on land, so we're going to take you to an iceberg. And so they actually, it's called a tender boat, they put us in that, and then they scoot us wherever we need to go from the big boat. And we was on a tender boat, and we went up and they parked us on the iceberg, and we actually had a chance to walk on the iceberg. And that was one of the best experiences of my life because the iceberg was slightly moving. And then also that day we saw some whales, which were right by the boat. And we also had a chance to see a iceberg go up, which looked like it was going to come down, but it just kept coming up. So on the boat, they had to zip away really quickly, because if it comes down, it could actually suction us in. And then you could either drown or it could knock the boat over. But I think those experiences truly made the trip. And there was another place we went to where we actually saw an abandoned ship that became stuck in the ice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was good. And then to hear the stories of the people who came before us making journeys, and the whaling stations, which are not there anymore, but learning about whaling stations is great. So I would say, if you have the chance to do it, do everything you can. When you get back home, you can take a rest, right? Or sleep on the plane going home. But when you're on the boat, do everything they have. And they have workshops as well. I say do everything.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Now, how did you pack for this trip? Because I feel like it's one of those where you definitely have to wear like a lot of layers. So it could be tricky with packing, and the rules of the baggage and all of that sort of stuff.
Yes. So packing was very tricky. I think that I overpacked. So that's one thing that I always want to keep people from doing, is overpacking. It is about layers and layers. So what you're going to need is your base layer, say your thermal. I like to buy Uniqlo items for the heat tech. So you just need some heat tech, and then you need windproof pants. Now, you don't have to go out and spend a ton of money on these. You can usually I bought my pants from Burlington Coat Factory for $30 each, which was perfect to get those. And then a long sleeve thermal shirt, heat tech shirt. Then on top of that, I put another shirt. Then what I do is I get a bubble insulated jacket, put that on. Then I put my vest. Now, you may say, well, that's not enough. But wait, there's more. They give you, when you're on the ship, they give you a jacket, which is windproof and also waterproof. Okay. It looked not flimsy, but I was like, what is this thing going to do? And I put it on and I was hot. And those are all you need. And a scarf. Some people had face buffers. Those are really inexpensive. And I had my hat on and I was good to go. And waterproof, windproof gloves. Okay. Is what you need. You don't need to worry about boots, because they actually give you boots. These are boots that cannot be bought. They can only be given to you on the boat, and then you give them back because they're special boots. They're windproof, again, waterproof. They come up really high. I love those boots, and they're really warm. They're insulated. So it's really just about packing layers. If you really think about it, I'd say bring 2 waterproof, windproof pants, maybe about 3 layers for your legs, and maybe about 2 to 3 layers in shirts, 1 vest, 1 puffy jacket, and you're good to go. And then you could just have some light clothes for being on the boat. You don't really need to bring anything heavy because you're on the cruise.
Right. And what about for your eyes? Did you wear like goggles, or were sunglasses enough?
You can bring sunglasses as well, because it depends on the day. The sun reflects on the snow, okay. So that could be effect for somebody's eyes. But for me, I wear regular glasses, so I kind of just had those on. But for those, you can bring some sunshades. Whatever kind you choose. You could bring insulated socks. When it comes to socks, and for this trip, please do not wear cotton. Because once cotton will keep you warm, but once it becomes wet or you start sweating, it's not going to wick, and it's going to keep that moisture in, which makes you sweat and you'll get sick. So don't bring anything cotton or anything cotton blended. You can do wool, merino wool. There's also like polyester items. So you can do that with it. And you can bring a first aid kit with you, and also pills and things that you feel like you may need if you get sick, because if you buy it on the boat, it's going to be expensive.
Right.
Really, really expensive. And also, if you want to send like postcards to people, don't buy the postcards on the boat. Buy the postcards before you get on the boat in Ushuaia.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah, and it'll be a lot, and just send them from Ushuaia instead of the boat, because I paid $3 per stamp on the boat.
Okay.
Yeah. So just a little heads up. But for your packing, you don't need to bring boots. Just bring some sneakers, because you're in Buenos Aires, it's still going to be hot. It's their summer.
Right, right.
So you don't need to bring too many clothes or boots. You don't need to bring a winter jacket, honestly, because they provide that for you, just an insulated.
Okay.
You can get that from Uniqlo for a really great price.
That's awesome. And I love that you send postcards. I never think to do that, but I think I might start doing it going forward. I think it's such a wonderful idea.
It is, and it's cheap. It's inexpensive. It lets people know you're thinking about them, especially a postcard that's stamped from like Port LaCroix. They're like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool!"
Right.
They know where it's coming from because Port LaCroix is in Antarctica and it's being shipped from there, so you have that stamp on it from Port LaCroix.
That's awesome. That's
Yes.
awesome. And now, aside from Antarctica, you've been to, I mean, 43 countries,
Mhm.
which is amazing. So I might have to have you back on, and
Yes.
then we can talk about more different countries. But what is your favorite?
My favorite is Antarctica, but I would say after that, that's always a hard. Like I have my favorite from each continent,
Right.
but I guess if I could do two, it would be Mongolia and South Africa.
Oh, I love South Africa. I haven't been to Mongolia yet, but South
Okay.
Africa holds my heart. That's for sure.
Yes. I
Um,
loved it there. I didn't want to come back. And then Mongolia just has its own. I went there by myself and had a great time. It just holds this presence, especially when you leave the city and you go into the countryside. It's like I could just stay here forever.
right. Exactly.
Yes.
And now, have you traveled solo on most of these trips?
Yes, I do travel solo.
Okay.
So I have some great tips on how to be a solo traveler and travel smart with that and be safe. I do travel by myself, but there are some times where I want to go someplace but not be by myself. So what I'll do is when I went to Cuba for the second time,
Hmm.
I went for about 4 days by myself. And before I left America, I booked a trip for 10 days. And so that would take us to different places where I don't have to do the legwork. And I was able to meet other people on that trip and make friends.
Right.
So I'll go by myself for a couple of days, but I won't end up by myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I did the same when I went to Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam. That was a group trip, but I started off by myself.
I love it. Now,
Yes.
I mean, I travel solo all the time.
Yes.
Um, now, what is your biggest piece of advice for women traveling solo? And regardless of where they're going, I mean, I feel
Mhm.
like, there are different things that you have to be aware of in different places, but like ultimately, what's your one biggest piece of advice for women traveling solo?
Never tell people you're by yourself.
Yes, yes.
Never tell people you're by yourself. If somebody's bothering you or talking to you, no, my friend is coming. Or sometimes I even point to just a random person and be like, yeah, that's my friend or something. But
Right.
just never tell people you're by yourself. Also, never take a map out in public because
Yes.
that makes you stand out. If you ever need to look at a map or something, make sure to find a bathroom, then you can open it in the bathroom and look. Sometimes I actually write directions on my hand and then just look at it really quickly or put a note there. But just never tell people by yourself. Don't take your map out in public. If you need help, make sure to stop into a store and ask for directions if
Mhm.
need be. And I would also say if you have a hotel or a hostel, make sure it's by public transportation.
Yes.
So that way you always make sure that you're able to get back to the place you're staying with more than one option.
Absolutely. And to
Yes.
add to the hotel, I always tell people to request a higher room, like a room on a
Yes.
higher floor,
Yes.
because you don't want to be on ground floor, especially if it's an outdoor entrance.
Mhm.
But those are just, little tips, but I'm sure we could go into more.
Yes.
I will definitely have you back on again. And
Thank
I
you.
really enjoyed this and learning more about Antarctica. I have to get there. I mean, I'm
Yes.
just like, you said penguins, and I'm like, yes, I need that. I need to be there.
They're so cute too.
I know, I love them. But thank you so much, and I will speak with you soon.
Okay, that sounds good. It was great talking with you.
It was great talking with you as well.
All right. Thank